What's up, everybody? OldSchoolNYCGamer here once again, and today, ladies and gentlemen, is that day where you get to see what is finally happening with this little puppy right here, the NES Classic Edition that I got. I believe back on November 11th, which was a release date for it. Now that we're in 2017, it only took within a month for somebody to finally get to see what this little thing could do if you did it correctly. Now, for reading some of the stories, I believe it was about last month that a hacker went into this, pretty much see what it could do, and finally, and this was, I believe, with the Famicom Mini at the time this person did it, people were going ecstatic over it, seeing, if you could load more games or whatever. Well, apparently, you can load more games on this. Within the last 2 weeks, I've been seeing videos, and of course, I'm not the only one that's doing this now. Quite a few people are showing on how to do this, which I won't go into that. I'll show you kind of the gist of how the program works, but I'm not going to do a whole tutorial about this. But just remember, from testing this myself, not every single NES game is going to work on this due to mapper issues. Now, of course, if some games do work, some don't, and if you think all of them do, please feel free to comment down below. But also note, you can load Famicom games on this, but of course, unless you speak Japanese or you know how to work it, you can do it. Just remember, when you do use the program, the files have to be .NES files. Now, where I got the games, basically, I did own quite a few of these, and I still own a lot of these games. Some are a little harder to find. And of course, if you want to know where to get the games, you could go on the internet and search that out, because I'm not going to provide where to get the ROMs or anything like that. But I will show you the program, and I'll show you what is on the Mini, so let's go check it out. Alrighty, everybody, so before we begin, I'm going to show you really quickly how this program works. It's very cut and dry, very simple. If you want a specific tutorial on this, just go through YouTube and you could totally find it. There's quite a few videos out there already doing this, for the fact this hack has been initiated over 2 weeks ago. Now, thanks to Mysteriozone, I'll leave a link in his channel and the doohickey down below. He was actually able to help me on one specific thing, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So, of course, when you get into it, these are the 5 games that I personally added, because I actually own these games outright. And they're Contra, Hudson's Adventure Island, Marble Madness, Rad Racer, and River City Ransom, which originally is not on the Mini, but on the Famicom Mini. So when you click on the Hack-Chi 2 file right here, you're going to see the executable file right here. So you click on that, and now this comes up. Now, mind you, before I even start on exactly how this is going to work, I must let you know I am not responsible for what you do to your Mini and you messing it all up. So just be aware of that. This is the Hack-Chi 2 NES Mini Pimp Tool version 2.06. Now, I believe, like I said before, I believe they did update it, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but I've been told that there was. Now, of course, all of the games here I have already uploaded before, but I don't have those files. Now, mind you, whatever you do, do not unclick this, the original 30 games. That must stay there, because there's a good chance that you could actually brick your console. I have not heard anything about this yet, but I would really not recommend that you do that. So, of course, on the bottom here, it says 92 games selected. Now, you could add up to 90 games, but what I'm going to do, just to show you that this does work itself, I'm going to add a couple of games. So I'm just looking here to see which games I want to uncheck. Now, of course, you have all the Mega Man games here. Mega Man 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Mega Man 2 is on the Mini. So just for the sake of this video, I'm going to uncheck the 5 Mega Man games here. And you see here, I have 87 games listed. So what I'm going to do is to add more games. Going to click on that. Don't worry about this. This is another thing. Just going to go into my desktop folder where I have the NES files. I have the 5 games right here. I do already have Contra, but I don't have Marble Madness or Adventure Island. So I'm actually just going to add Marble Madness to this, as you see right there. And of course, the cool thing about this program is also, of course, you can add your own artwork. So you just hit Google, and depending on the the connection of your computer, the speed of it, you can pick all kinds of different box art. So I'm just going to click on the first one, double click that, there you go. And of course you can select the release date of this and even the publisher if you want to go that far when you are sorting stuff out. So I'm going to add another game. Going to add Rad Racer. Let's see, we'll let that come up there, and of course, depending on the quality of how you want it, you can do it like that. But we'll go with the original. And of course, this was done by Nintendo. And one more game would be Hudson's Adventure Island. So of course, like, just be careful that you don't add the wrong box art. You add the correct one here. And of course, all right. So when it says sync selected games with NES Mini, mind you, you do have to follow these instructions to a T. You have to power the button off, make sure it's switched off when you reconnect it via USB cable to your computer. You have to hold that reset button down, then turn on the power switch. After a few seconds, you'll see some stuff happening. Now, the problem that me and Mysteriozone had, apparently, the driver was not installed properly. Even though we went through every kind of avenue to make sure this stuff worked, it ended up being that he had to install the driver manually, and it worked. So I'm going to hit my finger on the reset button here, leave my finger on the power button. Takes a second, and then when you hear that sound, uploading and doing all this other stuff here. So now it's building the custom kernel image for the 3 games that I added, and this will take just a bit, but honestly it doesn't really take that long. Depending on how long or how many games that you have on here, it might be quick, it might not be so quick. But when this finishes loading up, we're going to switch over to my TV and show you all the games and show you that, pretty much they do work. But I will mind you though, not all the games are going to work on this. I did test quite a few games. Gradius 2, unfortunately, did not work correctly because they said there was a mapper issue. Concerning that, and the other one was certain Famicom games, and I must mind you this, certain Famicom games won't work. The key is you must have those games in a .NES file. They can't be nothing else, because if not, the game's not going to work correctly here. So with that being said, let's switch over to the TV, let's check this out and then see if it works. So it is that time, ladies and gentlemen, and let's go check out what's up in this NES Classic Mini with all the games you saw that I added. We're going to see if it does work, maybe test a game or two just to make sure that it does work. Now, just to let you know that it does work 100%, I actually am using my Wii Classic controller. It is plugged in. I prefer this over the controller that comes with the Mini only because, of course, that the cord is a lot longer. Now, just to show you that it does work, I'm going to power it on. You can see the light up right there. It does take a few seconds for the system to boot up through the HDMI into the TV. And just to show you right there that it does work. So a couple things I would like to let you know, because of course if you're going to do this hack, once again, I am not responsible for anything you do to your system. Just make sure that you leave the classic 30 games checked. That's the key. Now, of course, you can see here we have Balloon Fight, which is in the packing system, but you notice here there's 3 games already off the bat you see that are not on the Mini, which of course is Baseball Stars by SNK, Batman the Video Game by Sunsoft, and Battle of Midway. Now, of course, this is 1943 Battle of Midway, but after seeing CJR's video how he had a problem actually adding the game itself by putting 1943, it wouldn't come up, so he just renamed the Battle of Midway. I did the same, and it came up fine. But just remember, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the Hack 2 Cheat program, you do have 3 options, which I failed to mention. You have your 1-player, 2-player non-simultaneous, and 2-player simultaneous, which for games like Baseball Stars, you would need a 2-player simultaneous action, which would be good to have. And of course here you have Battletoads, which like I said is one of those games that are really fun to have, but I believe should have been on the Mini. Blades of Steel by Konami, Bonk's Adventure, which is, I'm surprised, I can't really say surprised. I would say maybe this could have been on the Famicom Mini, but of course here this game is very slightly sought after by a lot of collectors. And of course, if you can't have Bubble Bobble without having Bubble Bobble Part 2, and with both the Castlevania games that were already on the Mini, I decided to add Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse just to have the trilogy itself. And next up here we have Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, which is a really good platforming 2-player co-op game here by Capcom. And if you notice here, which I do have to find a little funny, now you're thinking, wait a minute, this is not Contra, even though it says Contra on there. Well, if you look really, really good, you notice that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and the alien from Aliens. I just happened to see one of the random box arts when I was looking this game up, and I had to add that. I thought it was really funny. And of course, by HAL, you have Defender 2, which I believe is definitely not a bad port, even though it's pretty much almost like the original arcade game. The startup screen is pretty hilarious when you hit start, and for those who actually have this game, you'll know what I'm talking about. Now, next up here is Devil World, and a lot of people do know about this game quite a bit, but due to specific religious images in the name itself, this sadly was not ported over to the NES. But this is one hell of a game, and I do enjoy it. And next up here, of course, you have to have, besides, Double Dragon being in here, even though Part 2 is in here, you have to have the original. I believe that it's one of the better beat-em-up games on the system itself. Now here we have Double Dribble by Konami, and I have a really, really close, thing to this. It was one of my favorite games, and when I got the NES back in the day, it was really, really awesome. DuckTales by Capcom, yet one of those other Capcom classics that you had to have, back in the day. Now, once again, one of those other games that are sought after by collectors. And of course here you have Felix the Cat. Now this is one of the more underrated platforming games that was released by Sunsoft, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong if I can't tell right there. But definitely one of those sought after games, a really fun game to check out. It's not an amazing game, but it's a fun game that you will go back to here and there. And of course, even though Galaga's in here, I had to get its older brother, which is Galaxian. And of course, this was only released on Famicom, not for the NES. Now, I did notice something a little bit funny. I just realized, even though I have Ghosts and Goblins already on here, I actually have it twice. So that was kind of a goof up right there. Now, the next games we have here are Goonies Part 2. And you can see where it says it's in Japanese because, of course, this is released by the Famicom. I believe this is a better version than the original Goonies. And, of course, here we got Gunnak, which is a really, really awesome shooter that you have to check out. And even though this says Dun Got Smoke, I just call it Gunsmoke. It's one of those nice little top-down shooters by Capcom that you have to check out. And for me, Gyrus is one of those arcade games that still to this day holds a special place in my heart. The way Ultra, i.e. Konami, did this, they actually had to add a few more elements to make the game a little more exciting. I believe they did a really good job porting this over to the NES. And now Hudson's Adventure Island, if you do remember earlier, that was the game I added, so I can see there that it does work. But we will test a couple of the games to make sure they do work. And Ice Hockey was one of those games, once again, you have to have a good co-op game with this being two-player. You can either be with your team or you can be against somebody. Now, Jordan vs. Bird one-on-one, you have to ask, why the hell would I have this game? I was pretty good at the three-point contest. I'll just leave it at that. I was surprised my mom actually got me this game. I just said, oh, it looked kind of cool, but she got it for me, so go figure that one. Now, Joust, which is a really good arcade game. Not so much on here, but I wanted to play with it on the Mini just to see how it would fare. And of course here, Kung Fu, which I sincerely believe should have been on the Classic in the first place. Yet again, it is a short game if you run it through pretty quickly, but it's one of those games, regardless, that you have to have on there. It's a given. Now, Life Force, which is an amazing sequel to Gradius, I had to add that. Little Samson, one of those impossible games that I'm not going to spend $600 and up for. Marble Madness, once again, was one of those games that you saw me add to the Mini. And of course, even though Mega Man 2 is on here, you can see none of the Mega Mans are on here except for 2. So that might be added back again, but no, I'm not too sure about that. And of course, here we have Mighty Final Fight, which once again, that could be a hit or miss, but definitely a really good beat 'em up. And I wanted to add that to the Mini. And of course, even though Punch-Out is on here, I wanted to add Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, just because. I had this game back in the day, I still own it to this day, it's still one of my favorite games to play. Even though, some people might not say it has a lot of replayability, but you just want to go at it. It's one of those games that you're just kind of a glutton for punishment, especially when in the later stages that you just have to go back to. Now next up here, we have the new Ghostbusters 2, which is a way advanced improvement, way better than the original. And this is only released on the Famicom back in the day. Now, of course, then you have Ninja Gaiden, I had to add the next two. Like, it was only natural that I did. And of course here we have Palomides, which is an excellent, what I would say, cute 'em up that was released on the Famicom only. Panic Restaurant, which is a quiet successor to Burger Time, which you have to check out. It's a really cool game. And next up here, which, you know, due to licensing issues, I can see why Nintendo couldn't put it on the classic itself, but it's one of those original black box games, and still to this day, I still like playing this game, either in the arcade or on the NES. Pro Wrestling, once again, this could be an argument within itself. Me personally believe that this should have been on the Mini. Like I said, I understand how Nintendo wanted to really mix it up, but to have this game on there was kind of a crying shame that they did not put this on here. And RC Pro-Am, which is one of my favorite games. Rad Racer is one of the other games I just added, as you can see right there. Raid on Bungling Bay, which is released by Butterbun. Rampage, which is a really amazing, fighting. You can actually even fight other people in this game. You can fight each other besides destroying all the buildings. Now, River City Ransom, which is on the Famicom Mini, and like I said, they want to have 8 exclusive games for the Famicom Mini and 8 exclusive games for the NES Mini, so I can understand that. But to hell with that. I want a River City Ransom on my Mini. Russian Attack, that was kind of a hit and miss how I wanted this, but I might keep it, I might not. Now, Section Z, you gotta get one of those other really good shooters that you have to check out. Really, really awesome game. Solomon's Key, which is one of the Famicom Mini exclusive, I had to add on here. Space Invaders, without a doubt. If you know this channel and you know me, you know I had to have this on there. And let's see, of course, here we have Spy Hunter, which like I said was one of those cool little arcade games I had to have on the NES just for the hell of it. It's a fun little game. Star Wars, a really good game on the Famicom. Tough as nails. I mean, you really have to have a lot of patience for this game. And of course here, I believe, let's just skip through these. Super Turrican, one of those really, really good underrated shooters that was actually released on the Famicom. Sadly not here, but one of the games you have to check out. And of course, if just because you have TMNT, why not add the other two? But to me personally, this is like my go-to game. Manhattan Project's pretty good. This, I played quite a bit. Just gets a little not intimidating, just really tough. It's really hard. So of course now, yet one of the other games I'm surprised they did not add to this, even though they had the rights to this game. I don't understand why you're going to have Tetris originally, because this is, yet again, one of those games that you have to have on there. Like, once again, it's always to argument, like, what games should have been on there, what games shouldn't have been on there. And Top Gun, you got to wonder why I have this. Why not? Because it just because I grew up with this game. I'm pretty decent at the game, and like other people who shot with me in ambulance, I could actually am pretty good at landing the aircraft carrier. Now this game here, Sapporo Omono, if I actually pronounce that correctly, pardon me, it's actually sumo wrestling that was released on the Famicom. That was one of the Famicom game exclusive, and I might do a gameplay of this very, very soon. Now here, Twin B, once again, one of those other shoot 'em ups that you have to check out for the Famicom, released by Konami. Really, really good shoot 'em up or cute 'em up, however you want to call it. And yeah, one of those games you definitely have to check out. And last but not least, YY World 2. I saw this on quite a few top 10s for people who like the Famicom, so definitely going to check this game out as well. And, that's about it. So, we're just going to go back over to the couch, give you my closing thoughts, and, just let me know what you think. Sorry for that jump cut, everybody. I totally just did not realize. I wanted to show you that these games do work. So let me show you really quickly the one game that I did add on here when I added it. Give me 1 second here so I can find it for you. I believe it was, if I was not mistaken, it was Marble Madness. That's one of the games right here. So I'm just going to hit A, show you that it does work. Press start. And we don't need none of this. You don't need to know my name. So just to show you that it does work fine. Controller's fine. I don't see no glitching going on here. And yeah, there you go. There you have it, everybody. That is what is on my NES Mini. And I gotta say a humongous thank you once again to Mysteriozone for helping me out with that little slight problem with the program. If you want to know what is up with Hack Chi 2, if you want to know more about that program, please feel free to search it out on the internet. When it comes to the ROMs, once again, You know, if you want them that badly, you could go on the internet and get them. I'm not going to provide any links to any of that stuff. If I'm not mistaken, that version 2.06, I believe, has been updated, but once again, do not quote me on that. I'm also not responsible for you hacking your Mini and messing it up because you watched what I was doing. So, without further ado, once again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please, once again, feel free to comment, as I've already said before, and I am on social media. You can check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and I believe DailyMotion, even though I'm not on it as much if I haven't been for a long time. I heard VidMe is kind of getting big, so I might check that out. I might do a video on that, but who knows? You know, it depends. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, everybody. Feel free to check out Mysteriozone's channel down below. And like I said, if you have a game you want to recommend me doing on the Mini, let me know. If there wasn't something on there that I missed that I might check out, let me know too. Have a good one, everybody, and take care. Cheers.